The last video that I recorded, I forgot to turn the microphone option on, so I've got a video which is pretty much no voiceover whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that video now, and I'm going to go over. I'm just going to speak about what I'm doing, so we can create a video so you can have some instructions. So basically, in this video, this part, I've got a lot of polygons or parts of the model that are unwrapped. They're just small pieces, they're all over the place, and I'm gonna just go around and stitch them up, and then I'm gonna work on the last chunk, which is the back of the head. So for now, what I'm doing is I'm just talking about stitching these up, and pretty much using the same method as what we did before. So that's pretty much done now. So I'll use the weld options and just go on in, select individual faces, move them about, and just stitch them up. What we have now is pretty much the last chunk left. So I've got two options. Either I can stitch this up right at the top, but that way when it comes to shrinking my actual texture, my UVs, in order to fit them into the box, I will lose the resolution. So the other option is to actually select and break this into a half. So basically in the back we'll have another seam, and I'm gonna select all these different edges and then weld them onto the other side of each of the sides. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to select all the edges, but with the recording software that's giving me it's much slower process with the recording software. So once I've selected that, I was in edge mode instead of being polygon mode, and that's why it was taking me much longer, but now I'll just drag and select, and that'll be pretty much it. So if you separate this again using the same options, break options, which are just there, and just take this across to your UV unwrap, I'm just going to scale it up and to fit it pretty much the same size. So if you just scale that up and rotate it around so it kind of fits the same kind of area, so just scale it and rotate it, something that you're happy with, something that works well, and look at the checker map again just to see the scale of the squares, the checkers, so it's proportional to the what you had before. So if you select all the edges there, and I'm doing this just again, just selecting all the edges, just making sure for each side, and I'm going to use one of the stitch options. You can use this one as well, but then that kind of compresses the UVs and moves them, so I'm going to use the central one, which works quite well. Because we're going to be relaxing this in the next section, we don't need to worry too much about slight stretching or something like that, so because we're going to relax the overall whole thing. So again, just rotating it around, making sure that it's all aligning up. So until when I'm happy with that, I can pretty much go in, select all the edges. Yep. And pretty much stitch that up as well. So this doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, it just has to be near enough from the right kind of area. So once you've got that, I'm gonna pretty much hit the same stitch option again. So in that one I've used the centralized stitch, but no, well, I've used just a normal stitch option there. So I'm just looking at the places where I have the seams now. So as you can see here, I'm I can go ahead and stitch all this up, because when I come to relaxing this, I'll relax the whole area instead of just the one section. So just selecting each one of these and just clicking that for now. I know there's a bit overlapping, but we'll fix that in a second. So if we go around and do the same thing again and just select the overall UVs in that area or edges, and we're gonna you can use different options. You can hit relax until flat just to give you a better idea. At least that makes it so if there's any UVs that weren't stitched up, we'll just use the target weld option here, and then that's pretty much done. So now I'm gonna go around pretty much selecting and thinking about where the stretching is. So for starting off in this area, I'm gonna select UVs throughout the whole thing. So yeah, sometimes when you're recording, the selection process is much harder than when you're not recording, so it takes much longer and the system's kind of slow, so it affects it quite a bit. So what I'm using is I'm using start relax. I'm just going through the different options there are there. There's relax by center, which you don't want because it kind of compresses everything, makes it smaller. Relax by polygon angle is the one that I'm going to use for this, so that's good. This was just to test it out beforehand, to see the UVs that laid out quite nicely. So I can scale and move this up a bit, but obviously you can see there's quite a bit of stretching in that area there. So for now we're going to leave this the way it is, and I'm going to go and select all the UVs for the area that I need. So what I've done is I paused it because selection is becoming very painful. So now as you can see, all the areas have been selected, especially the ones that I've stretched. You can see there's some stretching there. So I'm going to go to the tool relax option and make sure it's put on relax by polygon. As you can see, there's stretching there, the stretching underneath. There's a lot of areas that have got stretching. So if you hit start relax and let it adjust a bit and do a bit more, as you can see the unwrap is much better now, and there's a little bit of stretching there that we can fix, but we'll leave it for now. And that's pretty much a nicer way to unwrap your model. So this is nicely unwrapped now. So if I take a texture and take into Photoshop the UV layout, I can pretty much use a photograph to unwrap on top. The only area that I can see now is the nose area that slightly needs working on, maybe relaxing a bit more in that area, but apart from that it's pretty much done. So what you do is you just pretty much scale the UVs back into the box, the space there, and just move it, so position it so you can prepare it for texturing. If you're going to do this in the ears are left, so I'll pretty much put a relax on them really quickly. It's not just a standard relax will be fine. You can potentially put them inside the UV as well, but I just leave them out for now because I just want to wrap this tutorial up. You can go stitch them when there's no problem, then apply a relax on the overall thing again. Just select all the faces like we did last time, apart from the central part of the face that we're happy with. Again, just take these. There's some extra UVs in that area. That these belong to the ear. As you can see, they belong to that part there, and so we don't need to worry about them now. We just scale everything up and move everything around. So if I just take this back and use our scale option, just shrink it a bit down until we're happy with it. Yep, I'm just talking about the seams. The pro thing about this is you get much nicer unwrap, I feel, but the you do have two seams to worry about on the top of the head, but then again, with the way you texture the hair, it's a really easy way to actually kind of get that nice and clean. Again, I'm rotating on the side to try to utilize max space within the texture space. Usually this extra space that you've got on the sides, if you make a cap for a hair cap or something like that, you could utilize that area for that. Just repositioning it, and then again, obviously the ears as well, I can just put them on the side for now. And these extra bits that I have, I can just move them as well, just because they belong to the ear. So that's pretty much how you would unwrap a head using the other method, not the pelt mapping but cylindrical mapping, or and just using relax and scale and stitch options to pretty much stitch it and break it up into. I think this method gives you a bit more control because you're not relying on one set tool. You can unwrap this model, the same head, in multiple ways and have different variations. But again, if we compare these two unwraps, they're completely different. If you look at this one, for instance, the one that we're working on, and if I turn this unwrap on and go to the Open UV editor, turn the mapping off, so you can see that's completely different. In this instance, this worked for us because the model was we don't even have the neck of the model, but this method is usually a bit more rough. It can be troublesome when it comes to doing heads, and it doesn't work for use in all the time. So this way you've got one texture, it's nice and flat, you can go and texture that up again. You can use this in Photoshop as well, but that's pretty much how you would be unwrapping. So that's pretty much it for the tutorial today, and that's the second way of unwrapping. So again, sorry about this last video, I had to kind of talk over the actual video rather than the actual tutorial. I've tried to sync it as best as I can, and I'll just stop it now. Hope you enjoy the tutorial.